Yo, I'm sorting through some heinous haters like a pooper scooper. I'm just trying to take my life like a Koopa Trooper. I'm double Mario, that mean I'm super. And I'm freaking dangerous like a Chupa Cabre. Got them all day like a Kanye, but I'm way better getting cheddar in Monterey. But Jack, you don't know, man. You got the show, man. You want roast beef? Well, I'm Arby's.
What's up, my wizards? Dev, SBMTG plays down there. There's decks and stuff. Here's a weird one for you today. This is just mono. Just a colorless deck with no colored spells whatsoever in it at all, and no colored mana sources of any kind. We just wanted to see what I could do with nothing but colorless stuff. And I think we've come up with something actually really good. And there's a couple of different ways that you can build this deck. It's got a built-in really cool combo in it that you can do. It's got some of the biggest creatures in the format, and it's got some good removal. The deck has a lot going for it. So let's check this out. It's only going to cost you like $75 on TCG Player if you go by the median prices. So you go by the lowest stuff, it's going to cost you even less than that. It's a good deck. I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to start with the creatures in the deck. That's what I usually do. We have 23 of those things in the deck, starting with 4 Hedron Crawler here. We have to play Hedron Crawler, I think, if we want to get really to the top end. We're not playing green, you know. A lot of these green-based Eldrazi decks are going to play, you know, either mana dorks like Leaf Gilder or Rattleclaw Mystic, even Beastcaller Savant sometimes. They'll play Nissa's Pilgrimage and Explosive Vegetation, even sometimes Nissa's Renewal. You know, we don't have really any of those options, and perhaps Ruin in Their Way. I forgot to mention that. Map the ways. There's some things. But we don't have any of those options in this deck. We do need something to ramp it, so Hedron Crawler is a good way to start. It's basically our Leaf Gilder in the deck. And, you know, I have no qualms with playing the card at all. We definitely need it to ramp in, so yes. Also in the 2-drop slot, 4 copies of Eldrazi Mimic, which has been about as good as I wanted it to be. I was worried it wouldn't be great, but at its absolute worst, 2-mana, 2-powered guy, it's going to block in the early game, often trade. That's good. But at its best, one way to look at it is that it sort of gives the creatures you play after it a form of haste, which is really good, you know? You're going to swing in with like 5 and 6 power Eldrazi Mimics sometimes if they leave it unchecked. And they often do, you know? Either they have no choice or they just it's unassuming, you know? So I've really enjoyed Mimics so far. And we've got some huge dudes up in the higher end of the curve here. And so you'll get a 6, even a 7 power Mimic on some turns, and that can be awesome. 4 copies of Matter Reshaper in the deck. We need to fill out the 3-drop slot, and this is a fantastic card to do that, man. The card's really good. When it dies, it replaces itself either by just effectively drawing you a card, or even putting a land or a Hedron Crawler or an Eldrazi Mimic onto the battlefield. It's really good to get a land with this sometimes, because it's a form of ramp. You can put the land onto the battlefield regardless of whether you've already played a land that turn. That's good to remember. So ramp is good, and we only have a couple of different forms of that. This can be one of them. If not, it's just going to basically draw you a card, and, you know, blocks and trades with a lot of things in the format. Decent, 3 mana, 3 power, so card's good. 3 copies of Reality Smasher in the deck. I really like playing this guy. I'd like to play 4 copies. I just don't know what to take out. I think he's definitely a good 3-up, though, you know. Fantastic top deck anytime in the game, really. Trample is good, more than you think, and Haste is especially amazing. This is hard for black decks to take out, I've found, you know. They can't Grasp of Darkness the thing. They can't Ultimate Price the thing. They can't, you know, play Languish. That doesn't kill it. There's only really Murderous Cut, and then they have to discard the card. So, you know, traditional black removal has a tough time dealing with this card, and that's what most colors are, you know, or what most decks are playing as their premium removal. The only problem is Crackling Doom is still in the format, but it won't be in just a couple of months, and I think Reality Smasher gets even better if Crackling Doom isn't in the format. So, Reality Smasher is freaking awesome. Just for the 5 mana, you can immediately swing in for 5, and if you have a Mimic out, you just swing in for 10. That is freaking good. 2 copies of Oblivion Sower in the deck. We still need to make it to at least 7 mana in the deck, and that can be tough considering we don't have all those awesome green ramp options. So we do have a couple of things that we play. You know, I'm still going to get to yet another ramp card a little bit later on. But Oblivion Sower is a great ramp card, even if it only nets us the 1 land, because it leaves behind a huge body that blocks well, even attacks well, and just the ramp is great. I'll use the remainder of the creature slots in the deck to tell you about a little combo that we're running here, and we don't need the combo to win. We've got a lot of huge dudes. We can just swing for, you know, damage. It totally works too, but when you do get the combo off, it is definitely a thing of beauty, and it's really cool. So let me go to the graphic for that, which I love saying. Here we're playing 2 copies of Conduit of Ruin, 2 copies of Bane of Balaguet, and 2 copies of Deceiver of Form. Conduit of Ruin is just good because it helps our, you know, Eldrazi cost less when we cast them, and it can tutor up an Eldrazi and put it on top. That's pretty cool. Bane of Balaguet obviously can swing in and make them exile permanents. That's awesome for 7 mana, and it's very very cheap to own. Deceiver of Form is also super cheap to own and is the main, combo piece here. Basically, if we have all three of these, really we only need Bane of Belaged on top of our library and Deceiver of Form on the battlefield. But Conduit of Ruin helps the combo out so much. You play, you have a Deceiver of Form on the battlefield, you play a Conduit of Ruin, you search it up and you put it on top of your library, and then you declare your attack step. Then you'll reveal Bane of Belaged on top of your library with Deceiver of Form's ability. All your guys will become essentially Bane of Belaged. You'll swing in and they'll start exiling a bunch of permanents. And again, keep in mind, we don't have to have this combo to win or anything. All of our guys are huge. Deceiver's an 8/8 in and of himself. I mean, we've got a lot of giant dudes we can just swing in for damage. So we don't need it, but when it does happen, it's pretty hype. We're playing 11 other spells in the deck, and 4 of them are artifacts. I'll go ahead and tell you about them. 4 copies of Hedron Archive, which is a needed ramp thing in the deck, Again, we're not playing all the awesome green ramp spells, and even the green-based Eldrazi decks. We'll play, usually, very often, a 4 of Hedron Archive. Now, we don't have all those awesome green things, but we still absolutely need this. That makes us need it even more. And we're not, you may have noticed we're not playing Ulamog or Kozilek, so we're not trying to get to 10. Like those decks are. We're just trying to get to 7. So we don't need all the ramp effects. We need some. Hedron Archive is one of the good options that we have. 7 other spells in the deck, and they're all removal. I'll tell you about both of them at the same time. 4 copies of Spatial Contortion, and 3 copies of Titan's Presence. There's another copy of Titan's Presence in the sideboard from when we need more removal, but it's not the best top deck in the world. That can be a problem. But as far as Spatial Contortion goes, in this deck it's not only early removal, which is something the deck needs an awful lot. That's what you'll normally play it as. But it can also obviously be a pump spell. So very versatile, and really it's great for early game removal, which is something we're sort of soft on. So we need Contortion. 26 lands in the deck. And I want to point out one more time while you look at these that cards, lands that tap for, a 1 within a gray circle also pay for diamond symbol cost. That's a colorless mana, and the new diamond symbol is just another term for colorless mana. Now, if a card requires a cost of a number in a gray circle, that's generic mana. And of course that's confusing. I don't know why Wizards didn't think that would be confusing. On to the lands, and I don't want to spend too much time here. I think it's pretty much no-brainer. I love the addition of Rogue's Passage. Ruins of War and Reef has actually been much better than I thought it would be. Mirror Pool is amazing, and if you had more dollars, I would definitely play more of that. Ditto Seagate Wreckage. I could actually see a 4 of Seagate Wreckage in the deck. Spawning Bed is just fine, but it could come out if you had more money. And then Shrine and Sanctum are just no-brainer must-play cards. And here's our sideboard right here. There's Endless One. I know there's probably already people in the comments like, Endless One is good and you should play it. I'm playing in the sideboard. It's in the 75. Don't worry. I bring it in mostly against aggro decks that we need another 2 or even 3 drop against to sort of just trade and get us into the early game. It's good for that. But even against control, sometimes it can just be another threat. You'll take out your removal against control because you don't need it against them. They don't run that many creatures. And you'll put an Endless One to have more threats, and it's a great top deck later on in the game. So there are a lot of arguments for Endless One. I just didn't know what to take out of the main deck, and I felt like the main deck was so solid without it that really it's more of a sideboard card, to me at least. Again, against control, just take out all your removal, and against aggro, there are definitely things you can take out on the top end. You don't need the combo as much or anything. You just want a more efficient cast of creatures, and he works for that too. So Endless One is very good, don't get me wrong. Aside from that, pretty cut and dry. We got some removal elements we can run. Another Titan's Presence, already talked about that. Scar from Existence, Ruin Processor, again against aggro helps. Gruesome Slaughter takes out everything. It's sort of our mass removal. And I really like Endbringer as another aggro or a mid-range option, an option against mid-range decks, I should say. And if you can resolve it against control, it's just absolutely crazy, but you have to resolve it. And here are the power rankings for the deck here. A final score of 62, which actually seems low, but it's not. It's just that we don't have a lot of synergy. We don't really have a lot of versatility because we are doing just like the one thing, and we don't have a lot of removal options. We have some, but we don't have much removal here. Synergy isn't great, it's just a bunch of really good cards, although there are some synergies. So we're sort of middle of the road in a lot of categories and really good in some other ones, which doesn't lead to the highest score ever, but we're still very, very solid. And a really cool thing to point out about this is that nothing rotates. Nothing rotates. So this deck is going to stay pretty sound for the next 18 months. So yeah, I could definitely see putting this together for just about 75 bucks. You could add on to it if you have Ulamogs or Kozileks. That you could definitely do that. Hangerback Walker could also go in the deck. Thought Knot Seer is another upgrade. So as you go along, you can add things to the deck. Oh, and another Mirror Pool or 2. I could see doing that too. So as you go on, you could add things to the deck for fairly cheap. Just over the next 18 months, that's plenty of time to gather resources. you know. So the deck is really flexible. It's got a lot of good upgrades, especially Thought-Knot Seer and Ulamog. So really, I recommend building this one, you guys. I didn't think I was going to at the beginning, obviously, of the deck building process. I was like, this is probably going to be a joke deck. I just want to see what Colorless can do, you know, but it ended up being really, really good. That's all I got for now. As usual, sleeve this one up and let me know because it's really, really unique. Just a couple of things. There's no wastes in the deck. You may have noticed that. That's kind of weird, but we've got a lot of stuff that produces colorless and does things, and waste doesn't do anything other than produce colorless. So we don't need it, you know. And we're not playing Walker of the Waste, obviously, because we're not playing Waste. And like a $20 budget version of this, you probably would play that. And you'd play Endless One, you know, over Matter Reshaper. There are definitely things you could do to make the deck slightly more budget, but I wanted to make a really, really good deck, and I think this ended up being exactly that, so test it out. As far as what we're doing next time, I don't know. I've been getting a lot of requests for Black-White Allies. I've been working on that. I don't think we got much from Oath, but I have been working on that. And obviously Super Friends, which we got a lot from Oath, and Green-White Tokens, which is probably what I'll bring you next time, but as always, let me know what you want to see, because I'm interested in that. If you enjoyed the content, as usual, just smash the thumbs up button. That would be awesome and takes like minimal effort. Or you can just share the video, you know, that'd be cool. Or you can comment, that'd be even better. Or subscribe if you're new or if you haven't done that yet. Or you can watch any of these videos over here that I've also worked very hard on. I'm Dev from SBMTG. Thanks for watching, my wizards.